So imagine a crocodile, but like the size of a pickup truck, just completely taking down an elephant in a prehistoric wetland.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And now, shift gears and imagine a futuristic passenger airplane that's designed as one, just continuous massive wing,
Wow.
like stretching, I think it's 1.6 times wider than a stealth bomber.
That is massive.
It really is. And today we're looking at how this kind of extreme scale is just completely reshaping both our understanding of the ancient past
Right.
and, the very limits of our technological future. So welcome to episode 607 of AI Brief. I'm Amin, and alongside me is Leah.
Hello, everyone.
And we have an incredibly packed mission for today's deep dive. We're going to be unpacking Nvidia's massive multi-billion-dollar pivot, which is honestly a seismic strategic shift in the tech landscape right now.
It really is.
And then we'll explore those enormous leaps that are happening right now in aerospace and biotechnology. And finally, we're going to break down today's top productivity tools and look at how you can actually deploy them, to streamline your workflows.
And I think when we look at today's updates, there's a really clear underlying theme running through all of this information. We are watching an intense, high-stakes global race for technological and scientific dominance.
Absolutely.
And it's a fascinating landscape because this race, it spans the absolute extremes of scale. I mean, we're tracking breakthroughs happening at the microscopic level of mRNA manipulation, all the way up to the macro level engineering required to, launch and land reusable orbital rockets.
Which is wild.
It is. So everything we're discussing today is just a reflection of that same drive to out-innovate, outscale, and really outmaneuver the competition.
Okay, so let's jump right into the software power plays because we have a monumental shift in Nvidia's business strategy to cover here.
We certainly do.
They're essentially turning their massive dominance in the hardware and chip market into a direct bid for control over the open model layer of artificial intelligence. And we're talking about a deal with a startup called Poolside. And the financial structure here is just staggering. It's a deal worth roughly $7 billion.
Wow, $7 billion.
Yeah, $7 billion.
Yeah.
But when you look at the specific mechanics, it gets really interesting. Because Nvidia is paying about $6 billion just to license Poolside's AI technology. And then on top of that, they're investing another $1 billion directly into the startup itself.
So they're really going all in.
Exactly. The ultimate goal here is to build a highly powerful, United States-backed open-weight model. And this move is expected to bring most of Poolside's engineers directly into Nvidia's orbit.
I see.
So it's kind of as if the company selling the picks and shovels for the gold rush just decided to, buy the entire highway leading to the mines.
Oh, that's a perfect way to visualize it. I really like that analogy. And by buying that highway, Nvidia gets to dictate the toll. If you want to drive your AI startup to the gold mine, you're going to be highly incentivized to use their infrastructure. And this entire strategy really hinges on the specific advantages of open-weight systems.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, the underlying economics and deployment advantages are what make this deal worth $7 billion to a hardware manufacturer in the first place. You see, open-weight models are significantly cheaper to operate over time compared to closed systems.
Because closed systems charge you for every single API call, right?
Exactly. The cost can really add up.
Yeah.
And beyond just the ongoing cost factor, they're much easier for both governments and private companies to heavily customize for their specific, highly secure internal data.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. That kind of deep structural customization is something you simply cannot easily do with closed proprietary systems, especially where the underlying mechanics are hidden behind a corporate wall.
So when we say open weight versus just open source, what exactly are we getting our hands on?
Good question.
Are we talking about the raw neural network connections? Because, there seems to be a very deliberate reason why Nvidia is specifically targeting these open weight models right now.
Definitely.
It looks like a calculated move to blunt China's momentum in the AI space, while simultaneously applying massive pressure to domestic closed model leaders, companies like OpenAI and Anthropic.
We are absolutely talking about the raw neural network connections. When a model is released as open weight, the developers are releasing the actual learned parameters.
The actual parameters.
Yes, the billions of mathematical weights that dictate how the AI thinks and processes information after millions of hours of training.
Oh, wow.
So you aren't just getting the interface, you're getting the engine. And NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, is making a massive calculated bet here.
And what's the core of that bet?
He's wagering that these open models, rather than just the largest proprietary models locked inside Silicon Valley servers, are what will ultimately dictate global adoption. So the resulting model from this massive Poolside deal is explicitly intended to compete head-to-head with incredibly capable Chinese open-weight systems.
Like which ones?
Specifically models like DeepSeek and Kimi. By weaponizing Nvidia's unmatched capital, their raw compute power, and their vast global distribution network, Huang is making this open-weight strategy incredibly difficult for both China and Silicon Valley competitors to ignore or counter.
It essentially traps the entire development ecosystem inside NVIDIA's hardware paradigm.
That's the plan.
I mean, if you give developers the absolute best open-weight model in the world for free, or at least highly subsidized, they're going to build their entire software architecture around it.
Of course.
And what hardware does that software run best on? NVIDIA's.
Precisely. It creates a self-sustaining loop of hardware dependency. And it's also critical to note that this Poolside deal is not an isolated, sudden move.
No.
No, this builds directly on the foundation of NVIDIA's existing Nemotron coalition.
The Nemotron coalition, right.
Yeah, that's a network that already includes major, heavy-hitting industry players. We're talking about Mistral, Thinking Machines Lab, and Perplexity.
It's a serious lineup.
It really is. When you look at the coalition, combined with this $7 billion injection into Poolside, it reveals a very deliberate, aggressive, long-term strategy to completely dominate the open model ecosystem. And they want to do this before international or domestic rivals can establish an impenetrable moat.
So moving on from that, it's wild that in the digital realm, progress means manipulating mathematical weights and buying up software highways. But when we look at physical engineering, progress means building something 1.6 times the size of a B-2 bomber.
It's quite the contrast.
The contrast is incredible, especially when you realize that in medicine, the biggest breakthroughs right now are happening at the microscopic level. Customizing mRNA to hunt down specific diseases.
Exactly.
I'm going to hand the reins over for a rundown of this broader scientific landscape because there's an immense amount of ground to cover, starting with what's happening in our skies.
We are definitely seeing a massive structural shift in the aerospace sector right now. The big story here is that China is rapidly closing in on America's historical lead in reusable rocket technology.
Oh, really?
Yes. We have a private Chinese company called LandSpace, and they have successfully recovered the first stage of its Zhuque 3 rocket.
Wow.
This is a monumental engineering achievement for them because it makes LandSpace only the third private firm globally to successfully pull off a leg-landed orbital booster recovery.
Just the third one.
Yes. Until now, that was a club consisting entirely of SpaceX and Blue Origin. And the Zhuque 3 rocket itself is actually designed to be reused up to 20 times.
20 times?
Yes. This echoes the exact developmental playbook used by SpaceX with their highly successful Falcon 9 program.
Wait, balancing a falling skyscraper on a set of deploying legs is hard enough just once, but doing it 20 times?
It's hard to fathom.
The wear and tear engineering required for that is just staggering. I mean, you have to account for the extreme heat of atmospheric reentry, the stress of the retropropulsion engines firing backward against terminal velocity, and the sheer mechanical shock of the landing struts absorbing the weight of an orbital booster.
It's an incredible amount of stress.
It's not just a matter of slapping legs on a rocket. It fundamentally changes how every valve and structural support has to be manufactured.
It absolutely does, which is why seeing a third private company master this capability is such a clear signal. Reusable rocket technology is no longer an experimental American anomaly. It is rapidly advancing globally.
That's a huge shift.
It is. When boosters are designed for 20 flight cycles, it fundamentally changes the economics of spaceflight entirely. It takes the cost of putting mass into orbit from astronomical government-level budgets down to affordable commercial margins. And that trend of rethinking traditional aerodynamics extends right back down into our atmosphere. So, smoothly transitioning to another massive aerospace development coming out of China, researchers have been running comprehensive wind tunnel tests on a colossal flying wing jet concept.
The flying wing, I saw this.
To really understand the scale of this design, the jet features an 85-meter wingspan.
85 meters.
Yes. That makes it 1.6 times wider than the iconic B-2 stealth bomber. It utilizes a blended wing design, which means the traditional tubular fuselage and the wings are fused into one continuous lifting body.
You know, the underlying physics of that shape are fascinating. because a traditional airplane is essentially a heavy drag-inducing metal tube that relies entirely on the wings sticking out of the sides to keep it in the air.
That's a good way to describe it.
But by fusing the fuselage and the wings together into a continuous lifting body, the entire surface area of the aircraft is actively generating lift while simultaneously reducing drag. The lift-to-drag ratio mathematically just goes through the roof.
That exact mathematical shift is the primary promise of this aerodynamic shape. By turning the entire aircraft into a lifting surface, you achieve significantly better fuel efficiency, especially on long-haul flights.
Which is what everyone wants.
Exactly. The friction and resistance are minimized to such a degree that it could potentially reshape how all future passenger aircraft are built. It would drastically cut the carbon footprint and fuel costs of global aviation.
While that fuel efficiency is a massive draw for the airlines, the logistical hurdles remaining to make that a commercial reality are equally massive.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the passenger experience. You have to solve the reality of designing windowless cabins for up to 800 passengers. Because most people will be seated deep inside the center of the wing, far away from the exterior hull.
That sounds a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah, and more importantly, the aviation industry has to figure out how to conduct rapid emergency evacuations. Trying to safely evacuate 800 people in 90 seconds from an aircraft shaped entirely like a single massive wing without traditional exit rows lining a narrow tube is an engineering nightmare all its own.
Those human-centric engineering constraints are incredibly difficult to solve. They really are. But shifting our focus from the skies directly into human biology, we actually have some highly encouraging results from a large-scale human trial regarding an experimental mRNA cancer vaccine.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Moderna and Merck recently announced that their vaccine helped high-risk melanoma patients stay cancer-free longer when it was paired with the established immunotherapy drug Keytruda.
That's great news.
It is. The mechanism here is what makes it so revolutionary. The vaccine takes a highly personalized approach by targeting each individual patient's specific tumor markers.
So when we talk about targeting specific tumor markers, how does that actually play out in the body?
Well, it's quite intricate.
We're essentially talking about mapping the unique genetic mutations of a patient's specific cancer, right?
Yeah.
And then programming the mRNA to act like a molecular bounty hunter.
A molecular bounty hunter. I love that.
It trains the patient's own immune system to recognize and attack only the cells displaying those exact customized markers.
That is exactly how it functions. It's a personalized instruction manual for the immune system. Keytruda works by taking the brakes off the immune system so it can fight the cancer, but the mRNA vaccine goes a step further by giving that unleashed immune system a highly specific target.
A 1-2 punch.
Exactly. It's a customized 1-2 punch against high-risk melanoma. This is a true milestone moment for a medical field that only really started gaining practical traction less than a decade ago.
Right.
Proving that this targeting mechanism works in large-scale human trials could potentially usher in an entirely new wave of effective, customized cancer vaccines for a variety of different mutations. It's a modern biological victory.
It's amazing what we can do now.
But contrasting this intricate, microscopic achievement with a massive prehistoric discovery, paleontologists analyzing fossils from Colombia have uncovered incredible details about a creature called the Porosaurus nervensis.
Porosaurus nervensis.
Yes, this was a giant relative of modern caimans that stretched nearly 7 meters long and weighed a staggering 1,800 kilograms.
Oh my goodness.
It was the undisputed top predator of a massive Miocene-era wetland ecosystem between 11 and 16 million years ago. Researchers actually discovered deep bite marks on fossilized bones, which demonstrate that this creature actively preyed on massive, elephant-sized herbivores that roamed the region.
The scale of that prehistoric wetland ecosystem is just absolutely awe-inspiring. We're talking about an ambush predator the size and weight of a pickup truck, launching itself out of a Miocene-era swamp to take down prey the size of a modern elephant.
It's terrifying to even picture.
It really is hard to even conceptualize the sheer force and biomechanics required for a caiman relative to drag down an animal of that magnitude. But it perfectly grounds all this dense scientific news with a very relatable, visceral sense of awe.
It certainly does.
From the microscopic precision of an mRNA vaccine to a 7-meter prehistoric predator, the extremes of our world are just incredible. But let's bring the focus back to the immediate, practical takeaways for our listeners today.
Let's do it.
We have a list of 6 trending AI tools, and instead of just rapid firing through them, we really want to look at how they're shifting modern workflows. We're moving from AI that just gives you code snippets or text answers to AI that acts as an integrated teammate.
That's a very important distinction.
Take Grokbot and Edo, for example. You use Grokbot as an actual AI teammate to offload real project work, rather than just pinging it with simple queries. But Edo takes it a step further.
Okay, how so?
You use Edo for advanced code review, where the AI actually runs your code to find underlying structural issues before deployment.
The distinction there is critical. Syntax is easy for an AI to correct, but underlying logic and structural flaws are much harder to spot.
Right.
When an AI tool like Edo actually executes the code in a sandbox environment, it acts much more like a senior developer running a stress test. It catches the cascading failures that standard text-based analysis would completely miss.
Exactly. It fundamentally changes the coding dynamic. And we're seeing that same kind of deep workflow integration in design and back-end operations. Number 3 on our list is Framer AI agents.
Framer, yes.
You use this tool to instantly design and publish professional-grade websites without needing a background in web development. It handles the structural logic of the build, not just the aesthetic layout.
That's a huge time saver.
It is. And number 4 is Nufos. You use Nufos to natively integrate AI directly into your DevOps workspace, which streamlines incredibly complex back-end operations.
Tools like Framer AI agents and Nufos are removing the friction between the idea phase and the execution phase. By natively integrating into the workspace, you aren't constantly switching tabs and copy-pasting prompts.
Which gets so tedious.
It really does. The AI is embedded directly into the environment where the actual work is happening.
Which brings us to the final 2 tools, both of which tackle the massive infrastructure and security challenges that come with deploying all this new AI.
Very important stuff.
Number 5 is Tines 3B. You use this to build a highly secure environment for running your agents, applications, and automations safely.
Nice.
And finally, number 6 is LetterTrace. You use this tool to track your AI visibility metrics completely for free, utilizing your own API keys. Tracking API costs is notoriously difficult, and costs can spiral out of control overnight if a rogue automation gets stuck in a loop.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, so having a free visibility tool utilizing your own keys is a massive practical benefit.
Looking at how those 6 tools function collectively, they demonstrate a major foundational shift in overall AI utility. We are moving entirely away from passive chatbots that simply return text prompts based on a query. Instead, we are seeing the rapid adoption of active, secure systems that integrate directly into professional coding, design, and security workflows to execute tangible, multi-step tasks.
That brings us to the end of today's deep dive, but I want to leave you with a final provocative thought, built on the Nvidia story we discussed earlier.
Okay.
We just looked at a single hardware company actively and aggressively buying up the open model software ecosystem to outmaneuver international rivals and dictate global adoption. When a single tech corporation has the capital and the compute power to single-handedly shape the geopolitical AI landscape, where exactly does the line between a traditional tech company and a geopolitical superpower begin to blur?
That's a heavy question.
It's something to consider as these massive investments continue to unfold. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please follow and share the podcast. It really helps us out.
Thank you for joining us for this analysis.
See you in the next episode.